Boss called black woman too emotional, not knowing she owns the company. She stepped into the glass doors, heels tapping softly against the polished marble. No one looked up. Jade Whitmore, now J. Monroe, adjusted the navy blazer. On her slim frame, her expression unreadable. The company she built from a folding table and borrowed Wi-Fi now rose around her like a glass and steel stranger. Cold, clinical, not hers anymore. "Badge?" the front desk intern asked, glancing. She handed it over silently. The name was printed in bold black, J. Monroe, consultant. The elevator chimed. She stepped in alone. The executive floor hadn't changed much. Still white walls, still gray furniture. But something else had shifted. The air felt thinner. The laughter was gone. The photos of her and her founding team had been taken down. She spotted a man in the hallway, salt and pepper hair, smug expression. Rick Halston, the interim CEO. He didn't even pause when he passed her. "New consultant?" he asked Carmen, the office manager, without turning his head. "She's from the vendor side," Carmen replied. Rick muttered, "Hope she's not another one of those emotional types." Jade's jaw tightened. The boardroom smelled like synthetic, leather and tension. She sat quietly at the end of the table. No one knew she'd once designed that room, picked out every chair. Rick clapped his hands. "Let's begin. We need stronger branding and a new voice. The old stuff's too soft. Too sentimental." Jade's voice broke through the silence. "Sentimental branding made this company $30 million in Q3 2 years ago." Rick raised an eyebrow. "You sound passionate, maybe a bit too passionate." Another board member chuckled. Jade didn't blink. Her hands remained folded. Inside, something boiled. The meeting ended. No one thanked her for her input. She walked past the frosted glass panel where her old office once stood. Rick's name was on the door now. He'd even kept her chair. Her mind drifted to a memory. A younger Jade stood on a chair, laughing, while her mother held the wooden sign steady. "Whitmore Solutions." The gold letters had gleamed. "You built this," her mother said. Now they couldn't even see her. The silence wrapped around her like armor. She walked toward the stairwell, heels steady. Quiet, watchful. They had no idea she was home. The break room was quiet, lit by humming fluorescent lights. Jade stirred her tea as a young voice spoke up behind her. "You're J. Monroe, right?" She turned. A girl with box braids and curious eyes stood smiling, holding a coffee mug that said, "Tech interns rock." "Yes," Jade replied simply. "I'm Grace, intern/coffee runner/do everything girl." Jade smiled faintly. "Nice to meet you, Grace." Grace stepped closer. "You know, I've been reading about the founder of this place, Ms. Whitmore. People say she built it from scratch. Like no investors, no rich uncle, nothing. Just grit." Jade raised a brow. "She sounds impressive." "She's like a myth to me," Grace said, lowering her voice. "Like Harriet Tubman with Wi-Fi." Jade chuckled. "That's quite a title." "Yeah, but no one talks about her anymore, like she vanished." Grace pulled a magazine clipping from her backpack. "I found this in an old library book. Thought you'd like it. You seem smart." Jade took it. "Top 10 black women in tech." Her own photo stared back at her. Younger, bolder, smiling wide beneath the headline. Grace didn't even recognize her. She folded the paper slowly. "Thank you." Outside. "The break room." Rick's voice rang down the hallway. "I don't care how hard it is for her," he said. "If Tasha can't handle feedback, she shouldn't be in leadership." Jade glanced around. Tasha, the only black manager on the floor, was sitting quietly in her cubicle, face blank. Rick continued, "And tell Rosa that just because she has an accent doesn't mean she gets a pass. This is corporate, not a culture club." Jade's stomach turned. Later, Carmen caught her near the elevator. Her tone was hushed. "Listen, I don't know what you're doing here, but take my advice, keep your head down." "I'm just observing," Jade said. "Well, don't get involved. This place eats people like you." "People like me?" Jade asked. Carmen paused. "Smart, female, brown. It doesn't matter. They'll chew you up." Jade nodded but said nothing. That night, she sat alone at her rented apartment, notes spread, out on the kitchen counter. Rick, boardroom behavior, Tasha incident, Grace an internship contract, underpaid. She tapped the article Grace had given her. Her own eyes stared back. They'd erased her face from the walls, her name from the emails, but she was still here, breathing, watching. The crown hadn't disappeared. It had just gone invisible. She folded the article gently and slid it into her notebook. Not yet, she thought, but soon. The meeting room buzzed with awkward tension. Rick paced at the head of the table, waving a dry erase marker like a sword. "I'm just saying," he said, pointing at Terrence. "Your tone came off. Aggressive. Maybe dial it down next time." The room froze. Terrence, tall and broad-shouldered, blinked slowly. His hands were folded, his voice calm just moments earlier. Now his jaw tightened. "I wasn't being aggressive," Terrence replied. "I was being direct." Rick smirked. "Same difference, isn't it?" Silence. No one laughed. No one moved. Jade watched Terrence's expression shift, pride dissolving into restraint. He didn't argue, he didn't storm out, he just looked tired. When the meeting ended, Terrence walked out first, his back stiff. Kelsey, a young white associate, lingered behind. She glanced at Jade with a conflicted look. "I should have said something," she murmured. Jade raised an eyebrow. "Why, didn't you?" Kelsey fidgeted. "I didn't want to cause a scene. Rick, he's not great with conflict, but still that wasn't okay." Jade nodded, but her mind was already elsewhere, drifting to a memory she hadn't let herself touch in months. Her father's voice crackled through an old recording on her phone, recorded long before his stroke. "They'll take your voice, if you let them. Doesn't matter how nice your office is or how much you make. If you don't speak, you disappear." She'd listened to that clip 100 times, but today the words landed different, heavy. Later, Jade slipped away from her desk and pushed open the stairwell door. Concrete walls, humming pipes, the faint echo of her own breath. She sat on the cold step and pressed her palms against her eyes. Tears came fast, hot and angry. This was her company, her space, and she'd become a ghost in it, watching good people get humiliated while she played the long game. She wiped her face quickly, breathe shaking. Speak now, and blow her cover, or wait. And let this poison keep spreading. The weight of silence sat on her chest like a stone. She rose slowly and gripped the railing. Not yet, not today, but the crack had started. And cracks always grow. The conference room buzzed with dry voices and stale coffee. Charts flickered across the screen as Rick droned on about aggressive growth strategies and streamlining talent. Jade finally spoke. "That strategy favors short-term gain over long-term trust. We'll lose people, good ones." Rick turned, eyes sharp. "We need sharper edges, not softer hands, J. Monroe." "I'm not suggesting softness," she replied. "I'm suggesting sustainability." The room grew still. Rick smiled. Too wide. After the meeting, he caught her near the copy machines. "You're smart," he said, voice low and patronizing. "But emotional. That's the issue with your kind." Jade didn't blink. Her breath slowed. Her hands trembled behind her back, but her face stayed calm. "My kind?" she asked. Rick shrugged. "You know what I mean. Always leading with feelings. Never facts." "I led this company from a garage to global contracts," she said softly. "That's a fact," Rick chuckled. "You were a founder?" Didn't know Whitmore Solutions hired motivational speakers now. Carmen, passing by, stopped mid-step, her eyes locked with Jade's. For the first time, she didn't look dismissive, just unsure. Rick walked off, satisfied. Later, Jade sat at her desk when Terrence approached, voice tight. "I'm done. HR won't back me. I've got interviews lined up." "Don't leave," Jade said gently. He stared at her. "Give me one good reason." She checked the room, lowered her voice. "Because I built this place." Terrence blinked. "What?" "I'm Jade Whitmore, the founder." He stared, stunned. Why would you hide that?" She hesitated. "To see what this place became without me." His voice dropped. Rick, he insulted you. Doesn't even know who he's talking to. Jade's gaze was steady. Exactly. Terrence leaned against the desk. Damn, you've got a plan, don't you? I do, she said, but I can't pull it off alone. He paused, then nodded. I'm in. Jade exhaled slowly, the first real breath she'd taken all week. As Terrence left, she stood and walked the quiet hallway. She passed the portraits of past award winners, her face no longer among them. She stopped in front of an office door. Used to say Jade Whitmore, founder and CEO. Now it read Rick D. Walton, acting chief executive. The gold lettering gleamed like a theft in daylight. She stared at it for a long time, then whispered under her breath, You're standing in my house. Behind her, a light flicked on. Carmen stood watching but said nothing. Jade sat at her desk, eyes locked on her monitor, but her mind raced elsewhere. The pieces were moving. Grace was the first to be trusted. You ever wonder why all the senior women of color left within months of each other? Jade asked casually over lunch. Grace blinked. I thought it was just bad luck. Promotions didn't stick. Or maybe they weren't supposed to, Jade replied. That night, Grace sent her a spreadsheet of past employees. Names, dates, sudden exits. Too many lined up. Next came Carmen. Look at this, Jade said, sliding a report across the break room. Table. 3 hires, same background, same degree. Guess which one was promoted? Carmen didn't touch the paper, but she didn't walk away either. This place eats people like you, she whispered again, but it's starting to choke. Jade smiled. Then let's help it swallow. She called Kelsey into an empty office. I need HR records, complaints, unresolved cases, especially racial bias. Kelsey hesitated. That's risky. So is silence, Jade said. You said it yourself. Kelsey nodded slowly. Okay, but if this backfires and it won't, Jade assured her. Truth rarely does. Within 2 days, patterns emerged. Black women denied raises, labeled difficult, transferred, then gone. Carmen returned with an envelope. Anonymous, she said, handing it over. But I know whose drawer this came from. Inside were copies of 3 resignation letters, all citing unbearable culture and discriminatory behavior, all ignored. Jade felt heat rise in her chest, but she stayed calm. Anger was a luxury. Strategy was survival. Walking through the lobby later, Jade heard a voice call out. Jade Whitmore? She turned. Janet, the elderly receptionist with soft eyes and a sharper memory, stood from behind her desk. Jade smiled. Hey, Miss Janet. Janet rushed over and hugged her tight. They forgot who you are, but I didn't. Jade's throat tightened. Good to see you, she whispered. You too, baby, you take it back. After their embrace, Jade made her way to the old storage room. Cobwebs danced in corners. Dust clung to forgotten chairs and broken printers. On the top shelf, half buried under binders, she saw it. A black ceramic coffee mug with white letters. Built, not bought. Her hand trembled slightly as she pulled it down. A chip on the rim. The handle still warm in memory. This was hers. She wiped it clean on her sleeve and held it close. No announcement, no fanfare. But the reveal had begun. The boardroom was full. Polished shoes, stiff suits, coffee untouched. At the head of the table, Rick leaned back, smug and unaware. Jade entered last, not as J. Monroe in modest gray, but in black silk and gold trim, shoulders squared, eyes sharp. A hush swept the room. Let's begin, Rick said, until Jade dropped a thick folder on the table. Actually, I will, she said calmly. Rick laughed. Excuse me? You will, she repeated, then turned to the board. I've gathered reports, internal complaints, hiring patterns, and testimonies. All point to a deliberate culture of discrimination, one that's pushed out women of color, silenced dissent, and protected the problem. She opened the folder. Pages of charts, HR files, timelines, screenshots of messages, even resignation letters. Terrence stood. I watched good people leave without reason. I stayed because I believed change was possible, Grace added. I was told to tone it down on day 3. I thought that was normal. Murmurs spread across the table. One board member picked up a document, jaw tight. Rick laughed nervously. This is outrageous. You think these nobodies can— They're not nobodies, Jade said. They're the people who built this place, just like I did. Rick slammed his hand on the table. Who do you think you are? Jade stepped forward. I am the company. Silence. Eyes widened. Heads turned. Rick froze. Wait. She's Jade Whitmore, Carmen said from the back. And you've been walking through her legacy like it was yours. Jade didn't blink. You didn't just ignore the team. You tried to sell it. This is the proposal you submitted last week. To Core Tech Systems, behind the board's back. She slid another folder across the table. This isn't just unethical, it's illegal. The air turned electric, board members whispered. One picked up his phone. Rick stumbled backward. You don't have proof. Oh, but I do, Kelsey said, stepping in with an email printout. He used his company account. Jade faced the board. You can keep him, or keep the company, but you can't have both. No one spoke. Rick's mouth moved, but no words came out. Security escorted Rick out by noon. No ceremony, no protest, just heavy footsteps and a face drained of arrogance. Carmen stood before the board that afternoon, voice steady. I warned people I stayed quiet too long, but I saw what he did and what he didn't stop. I see it clearly now. Kelsey followed, eyes glassy. I let fear keep me silent, and I'm sorry. To every person I watched get pushed out, I should have said something. Terrence, in a crisp suit and with a straighter spine than ever, shook Jade's hand as she passed him in the hallway. You earned that corner office, she said. And you made it possible, he replied. Inside the boardroom, silence lingered. Then Jade rose, holding a sealed envelope. I won't be retaking the CEO seat, she said. That role belongs to someone who understands where this place came from and where it's going. All eyes turned to Grace, her jaw dropped. Me? Jade nodded. I built the castle, but I don't need the throne. Grace's hands trembled. But I'm not. You are, Jade interrupted gently. Young, brilliant, unafraid. You'll lead better than I ever did. Jade placed the envelope on the table. Inside is my official resignation from the board, effective immediately. But you just got justice, someone said. Jade smiled faintly. Justice isn't the same as staying. She walked out slowly, the room hushed behind her. Outside, the wind was soft. The sun poured through glass windows, lighting dust like gold. She sat in her car and pulled out her father's old recorder, pressed play. His voice crackled through the static, deep, calm, loving. You don't have to stay where they don't see you. Build, then walk away. Leave something standing. Let them wonder how you did it. Jade closed her eyes, letting the words settle. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She just breathed. Then she drove away, not in defeat, not in escape, but in peace. The office hummed with a different rhythm now. Laughter echoed from break rooms. Posters of trailblazers, women, men, queer, black, brown, lined the walls like living promises. Change wasn't coming. It had arrived. Grace moved through the halls in a navy blazer, clipboard in hand, staff trailing behind her with respect. In their eyes, every decision she made sparked energy, not fear. On her desk, right beside a blooming orchid, sat the chipped white mug, the one with faded lettering, Boss Lady. In the lobby, Jade stood quietly. No one noticed her. That was how she wanted it. She read the new plaque near the front entrance, founded by Jade Whitmore, Vision, Strength, and Legacy. The metal shimmered under the lights. A young employee walked past her. You see the new founder wall? Jade didn't answer. Just smiled faintly. Another nodded. Yeah, she was ahead of her time. Still unnoticed, Jade stepped outside. The door clicked behind her like punctuation on the last sentence of a long, hard book. She didn't turn back. Didn't need to. That chapter in the pain, the struggle, the silence was closed. She paused at the sidewalk, looked up once more at the building. Behind those glass windows, her past lived. Her fight, her name, her win. She pulled her coat tighter, wind brushing her hair, and with a whisper, low but fierce, she said, "Too emotional? Damn right." Then she walked away.